welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time you're joining me, my name is Lisa Baldwin, and I am here to help you launch or grow your very own virtual assistant business. And this week's video is going to be a little bit different. Back in April, I had the privilege of being interviewed by Liz Goodman of the Fierce Movement. It is a group for women entrepreneurs, and she asked me to be part of her weekly interview lineup. We talk a little bit about me, about how I got started in my virtual assistant business. We talk about leadership. We discuss resiliency in business as well as project management. Also, my number one tip for being productive in your business. So I encourage you to watch this entire interview. We drop nuggets throughout the entire video. And as always, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified every Tuesday at 10 a.m. when I drop a new video. So sit back, relax, grab a pen and paper, you guys. There's a lot of really good information in this video, and I will see you in the next video.
Hey ladies,
Hey.
I hope you are having a fantastic Tuesday. I have Lisa Baldwin on the line with me today.
Hello.
And yes, I'm going to let her introduce herself, talk a little bit about her, past professional history and what she's doing now. So welcome to the show, Lisa.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, Liz. It's just an honor to be here, to be able to speak to your audience and hopefully provide them with some little nugget that they will find useful. So thank you again for having me.
Of course.
But to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Lisa Baldwin. Lived in South Dakota my whole life. I have lived in Sioux Falls for nearly 21 years now. Yes. And I started my very own business. I'm a virtual assistant. I started that business back in August of 2018.
Awesome.
But prior to that, I had spent nearly 20 years in the marketplace working for other people.
Wow.
I worked in the hospitality industry. I worked in the travel industry. I worked in health insurance for about half of that time. And then I worked for another small business here in Sioux Falls. But in all of those jobs, I worked in some sort of administrative capacity. It was either as a marketing assistant, catering assistant. I spent 9 years as the executive assistant to the CEO of a health insurance company here in Sioux Falls. And then I was actually an office manager for a small business here for a short period of time. But what happened is I got to the point of where I was tired of working for other people.
Oh, for sure.
I was tired of having to ask for time off if I had an appointment, or I was tired of having to coordinate with everyone else's schedule if I wanted to take extra time over the holidays. I was craving that freedom. And I knew that I was not going to get it working for someone else.
It's true.
And so I got to the point one day where I was just like, what can I do? I had no idea what it was I was going to do. And so I knew I wanted to work from home. I didn't know what that looked like. So I went to the internet and you Google work from home job and there's a gazillion of them, but you have no idea who you can trust.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there.
You don't know who you can trust, and everything seems super sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew I could trust myself. So I knew I wanted to be my own boss, but I had no idea what I was going to do. And completely by accident, I came across the career of a virtual assistant. I had never heard of it before. But the more I looked at it, the more I thought, this is exactly what I have been doing for nearly 20 years. I knew I had the skills to do it. I had no idea how to start a business, no idea how to run a business on my own. You know, I had learned in these nearly 20 years of how businesses work, but I had never owned a business for myself. And so I kind of started accidentally on purpose, if that makes sense. So then in August of 2018, I started my own virtual assistant business. I started with one client. She is still a client to this day. And currently I am serving 9 clients in 7 different states.
That's incredible.
And then in addition to that, about 6 months ago or so, I actually launched a program to teach people to do exactly what it is that I do, how to start their own virtual assistant business, how to like basically start from a laptop and an internet connection and just go from there. And so those are the two products or services that I have.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So what has been the difference? You know, you said that you did this in your career previously, like it's what you did when you worked for people. What was the difference between doing that for someone else and then jumping to doing it for yourself? How is that different?
So the big difference for me is the freedom. The time freedom is by far the biggest thing for me. But also the freedom to be able to set your own wage. You know, I get to determine, you know, what I charge per hour, but I also get to choose how many hours I work. So I get to control all of that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that that's incredible. So what was the hardest part of transitioning?
The hardest part at first, and kind of still to this day sometimes, but at first was I didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to run a business. And so, you know, they say if you need to learn something or you want something that someone else has, you go to the people that have the results that you want, right? You learn from them. And so that's what I did. You know, I have a business coach that I go to. I'm surrounded by a lot of really smart people that own their own business. And so I've relied on them for advice and suggestions as well. Don't get me wrong. There are still days when I wake up and I walk into my office and I think, what am I doing? What am I doing? But those days really are, you know, they're few and far between, but that was by far the biggest challenge that I had when I started.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right about that. And like you said, it doesn't matter how long you've done it. And maybe when you've done it for 30 years, maybe you feel differently. I don't know, but I have a feeling in 30 years, I'll still have days like that. What are we doing here? But yeah, I think that's awesome that you surround yourself. And I know some of the people you surround yourself with. So there's some pretty phenomenal women. So you've done pretty good with that. So talk to us. You know, we've made many shifts in this group. About 6 months ago, we renamed it and really kind of changed the focus, opening it up to, you know, internationally to women and kind of starting to really focus on resiliency and leadership. And so let's start with leadership. What is your definition of leadership?
So the best way I can think to define leadership is really providing direction and guidance when people need it the most. Yeah. And I'm going to go back to that example of when I started my business and I didn't know what I was doing. And I had to find trusted sources, trusted leaders that could really guide me, show me what I needed to do. You know, somebody that could take me by the hand when I needed my hand held in the process, but also at the same time, know when it's okay to let that person go.
Yes.
You know, let them go, make the little mistakes that they need to make, you know, to learn and grow in their business. But honestly, that to me is what a strong leader is they understand where they need to provide the direction and the guidance, but at the same time, understand when they need to back off of that a little bit too.
And still loving the person after. Like you'll
Right.
find a lot of people, and I have run into this myself, where I've had people that were helping me and they maybe give me a suggestion and I look at it, I look over it, and I'm like, I understand that might work in yours, but I know that that's not the core of who I am. I know it won't work for me. And then when you don't go with their suggestion, they're like done. And it's just like, that's not leadership.
Right.
You can't, you have to allow people to be who they are. And like you said, make mistakes, love them through the mistakes. I think that so many people in general, there's so many mistakes that they're not willing to make because they're afraid people love them through the mistakes. And to me, that's so important. That for me, that's a deal breaker. So that's something that I actually have on my list. When I start to look for people to follow and look to people to be my mentors and maybe potential business, partners to partner and things, they have to be able to, I call it the right to choose. I have the right to choose whether or not I go with what you're suggesting, and you have to still love me afterwards. And if you don't, it's not that you're not a great person, but you're not the right person for me. I have to have the type of person that's going to love me through those mistakes. So I think that that's a great thing. I think that is so very important in a leader. So the other thing we've been focusing a lot on is resiliency. And I'm actually in the middle of developing an entire program just focused on resiliency. So what is resiliency to you? It sounds like you've weathered a couple of years as a business owner. So I'm sure that you've come to times when resiliency was important to get from point A to point B and from one day to the next. So what does that look like to you?
Well, resiliency, I think, especially in this season right now, for me, my business has been affected a little bit. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it hasn't been affected a lot. Mm-hmm. And I attribute that to, one, I was already working from home. Mm-hmm. And two, most of my clients were already working from home. They were running businesses from home. Yeah. But there have been places in my business, especially in the season, where I have had to pivot. I have had to change. Yep. And I think in order to be resilient, especially in this time and in your business, you need to identify where those weak spots are. Now is the time to see where those weak places are. Now is the time to shore up those policies and procedures, to see where there's gaps in your business. And you have to see this as an opportunity. I keep seeing on Facebook, it seems to me like there's two different types of people in this. There are the people that are sitting at home in their pajamas waiting for this to be over. Yep. And then I see there are people that are out there creating content. Mm-hmm. They are growing their business. They're shoring up those gaps where those gaps exist. Yep. And those are the people that are going to come out of this and be more successful than they were going into it. Yep. And I think, it's a fearful time. Are there times during this where I didn't want to get out of bed and go to work, and I just wanted to stay at home in my bed because I knew it was safe and there was no, COVID there? Right. Of course, I don't want to give the impression that it has been easy for me, but what you have to realize is that this is an opportunity.
Absolutely.
This is an opportunity that you've been handed. You have to see it that way. Yep. And like I said, there are people that are going to come out of this and be far more successful than they were a month ago or 2 months ago, because they're seeing this as a chance to grow their business. They're creating content. They're out there honestly crushing it with online sales. And I see it every single day. So to me, being resilient, especially in this time, is recognizing this time as an opportunity rather than as a threat or a fearful time.
So tell us a little bit about project management. I know before we got on here, I told you I was going to pick your brain a little bit about project management, because I am like trying to learn that myself. I struggle. Like I like to lay out my stuff, but then if I don't hit a due date like that I have, like I freak out. Is that normal? Do due dates often get moved around? What does project management look like?
Well, I think project management for me is something that comes naturally, but it really comes down to the person's personality.
Yeah.
You know, when I set a deadline for myself or my clients set a deadline, like that's the deadline that I stick to. Now, my clients could eventually change that, you know, because, you know, I believe there's four personality types. And a lot of times the people that hire me are not my personality type, because if they were my personality type, they wouldn't
need you. Yeah.
Right. So I never work with anybody that's exactly like me. And that is not a bad thing. So, you know, what I find is I try to gather all the information from the clients that I possibly can, and then just work with them. You know, if we're trying to meet a certain deadline, like right now, a project I'm working on with a client of mine, we're working on a joint collaboration together. And, you know, that deadline has been moved back a few times. But what I'm seeing is that's okay, because the project wasn't ready.
Yeah.
You know, we were actually supposed to do this, I think April 1st was the day we were supposed to record
wow.
it. Today, like the 21st. So we're already 20 days behind that. But that's okay, because what we realized is we were rushing the project.
Yep.
And the content that we are creating was not going to be what we wanted it to be had we recorded it 20 days ago. Yeah. So I think a big part of project management is you need to set up a timeline. You need to set up an outline for how you want to do it, and like a clear vision. But I think also you need to realize that needs to be adapted.
Fluid.
Sometimes, yes, it needs to be fluid. Because had we held ourselves to that April 1st deadline, what we would have produced would not have been nearly as amazing as what we're going to produce in the next couple of weeks. So you need to have a set goal, a set outline, or a set vision for what you want, but also you need to be able to give yourself and the project grace. You know, you need to be able to realize that things with a project can change, and it's not always a bad thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's use that failure word. Let's talk about that failure word for a second. So how do you manage that emotion? Because I'm that way. I'm really black and white, and I have such a hard time. It's like, well, if we didn't, and I have to talk myself through this all the time. It's like, just because it didn't get done on the date you wanted to get done doesn't mean it's a failure. You got to keep going. And I might have to talk myself through that 6 or 7 times during that day just to like get myself ramped back up. So I know that I'm not the only person with my personality type. So there's got to be other people out there that's like that. So what are your recommendations for people like us that are like, well, we didn't get done, we might as well just be done with it?
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say about that. Some of my greatest failures in my business have honestly been my biggest money makers.
Nice.
They've been the biggest lessons that I've learned. Because honestly, if you're not failing, you're not learning.
Not trying hard enough.
Right. If you do everything and you succeed constantly, it's really good for your ego, and that's not really a good thing. Right.
That's true.
Right. So you have to see the failures. And again, I'm going to go back to like the resiliency conversation we were having. Like, you have to see that as an opportunity to do it better next time. Or, you know, I was supposed to get done with that task today and I didn't. I'm going to have to push it out 2 more days. See it as an opportunity to make it better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So use your failures to learn, because here's the thing. If you're not failing, you're not learning. You are never going to be successful 100% of the time. And you don't want to be successful 100% of the time.
Like you said, you're learning. No, I love that.
Right. So absolutely let yourself fail, but use that failure as an opportunity to turn it into something better.
Incredible. That's awesome. That is so awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna have to write this. I'm gonna have to rewatch this and write down these notes for myself. I'm just saying. Oh goodness, that's so good, because sometimes you got to retrain the brain. Like it's
Right.
like, no, this thought is not working for it, so we're going to try something else.
Yeah.
And that is, like you said, that's how you learn. I just want to make sure that we've gone through all of our questions here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I guess the last thing that I always ask everyone, because I want women that tune into this to actually get value out of it. So I always ask the guests to give us just one thing that the ladies could then do today. If they shut this off and did it today, that it would improve their personal life, their business, both. Just what is that one thing that you recommend that everyone do?
Oh, I love this question, Liz. I love this question. So at the beginning of this, I mentioned, did I mention I have a YouTube channel?
You did, yes.
Okay, so I have a YouTube channel where I train other people to do what I do, to start their own virtual assistant business. And I have a video in there that's called Failures I Made in My Business.
Ooh.
I know, it's one of my favorite ones, actually. And so I'm going to let you all learn from a failure that I had, but it's going to change everything in your business. If you're not doing it, if you're already doing it, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. But if you're not doing it, it's going to change everything. So when I started my business, you know, I got to work from home, and I was going to sit in my recliner chair with my laptop on my pajamas, and I was maybe going to shower at 4 o'clock, maybe not, you know, but I was just like chill and doing whatever I wanted to do, right? And I thought I was being productive. I really thought I was being productive. I was not. So here's my tip. And I talk about this in, I talk about it in that YouTube video. I talk about it in other YouTube videos. I think I talk about it in my free e-course that I have.
Awesome.
Here's what you have to do, ladies. And there's some days you don't want to. But do it anyway, because it works. What you have to do is you have to get up every day at the right time. First of all, you need to set business hours. Set business hours, because you are running a business. This is not a hobby. If you treat it like a hobby, it's going to produce like a hobby.
It sure will.
If you treat it like a business, it's going to produce like a business, right? So your first thing you need to do is you need to set business hours. And for me, that is 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. I do my best to get my butt out of bed by 6:30 every morning. Mm-hmm. What do? I shower. I do full makeup. If makeup's not your thing, don't do makeup, but I do full makeup. I do full hair, and I dress like I'm going to work. Now, at my office, we like to work casual, like we wear jeans, right? I allow myself to wear jeans, but I show up like I'm going to work every day, even if nobody is going to see my face.
Yep.
Show up like you're going to work every single day. And as soon as I did that, my productivity increased, the value I was providing to my clients increased, and my paycheck increased. And I have a designated office space. I do not work from a recliner chair. I am sitting at my bedroom table right now because this lighting is a little bit better, but I have a designated office space. Yeah. And so that is my tip. Treat your job like a job. Yep. It will produce the more you treat it like a job. It is, if you want it to be a hobby, then treat it like a hobby, but you're going to reap the hobby income. No, it's so true. I know you know who Danny Johnson is. Yes. And so I've been following her since I was like 18. My dad has actually been to a couple of her, you know, seminars that she puts on and stuff like that. And I got the opportunity to call into one of her shows once. I did too. And talk to her. Yes. And I asked her, this is so funny. So I asked her what her recommendation to me was. And you want to know what it was? What was it? Stop treating your business like a hobby and start treating it like a business. And it would take me, and that was probably 4 years ago, it would take me another 3 to get what that meant. It would take me another, as a human, you like understand it up here, but like as you walk it out or as you do it, then you start to see it so differently. Like you can see, I do my nails from my own home because I want to feel like I
I'm a business owner. Like there's a feeling to it. I do my makeup because like you said, whether no one sees me or I get on camera and do an interview, I still need that feeling of being a human and being a business owner. I was sick with something, who knows what, for like 4 weeks and didn't put makeup on. I felt like crap. Like, I cannot wait to put makeup on again. I cannot wait to look in the mirror and have color on my face and have my hair done and straightened and look like an adult again. Like, it does something up here for you. And I so believe that to be true. It is such a big deal. And like you said, a designated office space. And I've got this little board that I've started putting like my like projects on, because I'm trying to learn project management myself, because then I can adjust, and I've got it so it's sticky so I can adjust what I need to or whatever. But trying to learn those things, because oftentimes you'll see in like corporate settings, they'll get whiteboards out and they'll start writing, and they'll start managing these projects like that, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm a business. I need to do this. I need to I have to behave like a business owner. So I love your advice. I love it.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. This has been awesome, Liz. Thank you so much. And I hope somebody was able to get, even if it's just one thing from this, something that maybe they hadn't thought of, or maybe they were thinking, but just needed to hear somebody else say it to kind of reiterate it for them. But honestly, Liz, this was amazing. I am so honored to be able to speak with you and everybody in your audience.
Thank you so much. It is so fun. These are the high spots of my week. I love to talk to people and learn from them. And like you said, hopefully provide something that the ladies can learn from and implement in their business, because that's how we learn, is through mentorship and through all those things. That's how we learn. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, we'll get you on again shortly, and keep killing it in your business. I can't wait to see what project you're working on.
All right. Thanks so much, Liz. It was a pleasure.
You bet. Bye now.